Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Zoom session. Our session today is information session about PY Program 2021. My name is Romilda Moreira da Silva and I'm Sales and Marketing Officer at Danford College. Danford College has been in the market for over 12 years, as you guys already know. Danford College has been committed since 2007 to give the best experience to our students. And also we are more than welcome to your students to any of our programs. So today we are presenting our PY information session presented by Dr. Edward William, Anjali Maindiratta, and Mark Vincent. Before we get started, I would ask you to kindly mute yourself. And if you have any questions, you can just type in on your control panel in your Zoom. And in the end of the session, all your questions will be answered by Mark Vincent, our PY coordinator. So just let's start it. So Edward, please, could you get started to our PY program?
Sure. Hello. Good morning, everyone. How are you going today? Everyone's okay? Fantastic. So the purpose for today's presentation, if you go to the previous slide, I appreciate it. Yes. The purpose for today is basically we're going to introduce Danford as a professional year program provider, as a new professional year program provider. Started in March this year. However, we now officially started the program. So we're just inviting agents to get familiarized themselves with the new products. Many of you maybe are working with the other 10, 11 providers who are actually are already in the market and they actually are offering the ICT Professional Year Program. Danford College is a new provider, so it's quite exciting for all of us that we got the license and permission to deliver this program in Australia. So it would be a great time for me and my colleagues to help you with all your question and inquiry. However, as a start, we go and just explain a little bit about the actual program, what it is, and how we can help students and also the agents in this program. It looks like a fruit shop. Now you have a new fruits in your basket to offer to your customers. All right, I would like to ask Anjali to just run the ball and start talking about the ICT PYP program in Australia.
Thank you, Dr. Edward, and hello to everybody. I'm pretty sure as agents, you're all aware of what we have to offer and what the program's all about. But just to touch upon very briefly, the program runs for a minimum duration of 44 weeks. The first 32 weeks, the students are with us and we teach them everything about work readiness. So getting their resume, cover letter, their teaching them how to be ready for the workforce is all those aspects that we cover in the PY program. But the essential part is the internship, and most of the students have a lot of questions regarding that. So we start that preparation for the workplace internship well in advance. By week 22, we ask them to send the resume to us. We sit down with them, work through what they have mentioned on the resume. If they have an IT-related job, how we can proceed with that, if it is relevant, or we try and find a suitable placement. Now, for that reason, that whole effort is made so that the right kind of placements are done for these students. At the end of the day, it is a work readiness program, and that is what this program aims to be. So before we get into the details of that, as an agent, one of the bigger aspects is what are the documents that we require essentially for the admissions. So it is, of course, a student has to have studied in Australia for 2 years. As a minimum study of 2 years in tertiary education in Australia in ICT. Now, ACS has also gone a step further and said that the qualification should be accredited by them prior to joining. So you might notice that there are times when I have possibly sent an email back saying that this student's course is not listed on the ACS accredited course list. So that link is very important. We'll possibly share that with you when we send emails out with our application forms and checklists as well. So that's important. A student needs to have at least 1 year validity on their 485 visa. So if they are on a bridging visa to a 485, it is acceptable. And of course, they need to have a valid English score, which is 6 bands of nothing less than 6 equivalent in IELTS. Okay, so the breakup of that is also mentioned. Actually, Romilda, do you mind moving to the next slide, because that has the entry criteria. And the last but not least, when you send us the application, it is a mandatory requirement that we conduct an interview with the students. A lot of times students are not comfortable doing those interviews. It is a mandatory requirement that we, at that stage, assess the students' skills and see how best we can place the student in an internship in the long run. So the idea is that the student gets comfortable with Danford and we get comfortable with him. We get to know that him or her. We get to know them day one. They know what to expect out of the program, understand their obligations, and then go forward. So that's the initial bit where you as agents help and support us tremendously. So if you turn around and ask me, Anjali, how long will it take me to get an offer letter? The offer letter depends on how long the student will take to answer my phone call and then have that Zoom session for the pre-enrollment interview. So it is a mandatory requirement, which is conducted by us. It is not conducted by you on our behalf. It is conducted by us. So I need to find time to make sure that the student is available. If you've got time slots available with the student, you can always mention it to us that the student will be available between A, B, and C, and that always helps, but it's not guaranteed. So ideally, I would say about 24 to 48 hours is required for me to process those applications successfully if the interview is done forward. So that's basically about the program. There are smaller other aspects of it as well, so which we cover with the student induction. So it's not just the 32 weeks of delivery and the internship. The students become members of Australian Computer Society. As a member of the society, they have to deliver and participate in networking events. This is a great opportunity for students because they are really stepping into the real world. And when we say about networking events, that is where, when life is better, when we do have the opportunity to actually have these events, or ACS has these events, not just online, but actually physical events. In my past experience, I've noticed a lot of people have, or students have been able to interact with companies directly and get placed directly, have that extra person on LinkedIn to connect with. So the networking events that ACS offers, for students, it's mandatory that complete 6 hours, but if they do more and they get the opportunity to actually go ahead and physically attend those events, it's fantastic. Okay, and with COVID, ACS has extended that membership to students for another year. They have access to the digital library. So all those aspects are always a plus point. So the digital library, these networking events, and then the PE online that the students have. So there are certain commitments that they need to fulfill. It is an intense program, yet at Danford, we're doing our best to make it more exciting and fun. Like last weekend, we had requested the students to dress in gold and green just to be participating in the Australian Day celebrations. So, you know, we are all, that's our end goal, which is to become permanent residents in Australia. So it's what these students want. So if they participate in other activities, not just the serious bits, it's always fun. On that note, I think it's best that I pass it on to Mark to talk more about the internships as well as agent bits. Mark?
Yes, okay. So if we could go back to the previous slide, please. Thank you. There we go. So when we picked up from what Anjali has just said, essentially we look at the whole abilities or the entire background of the student, what they've done, where they've studied, what their passion is, where the particular focuses are of their studies so far, and we take our internship placement program a lot more seriously than perhaps some of the other competitors that are in this particular program with us. in that sense, the way that we do this is to engage with the students in a way that that pretty much hasn't been done in most cases across the board with professional year programs. As Anjali just alluded to before, what we do is we connect with the students, we engage with the workplace integration of getting them into Australia, but getting them into the Australian workforce, and culturalisation, exposing them to what it is that they'll need to either get used to or learn how to communicate in an environment that really isn't very familiar to them. So to increase that level of familiarity. The other side of this is that we take a slightly different approach in that we're not just putting them through a program, churn them out, get them ready for the situation where they can then apply to claim for their extra 5 points, and there they've got perhaps contribute to their immigration. After they've finished that process, let's imagine that was successful for them. They have a permanent residency status perhaps, and what happens then? Do they have a job? No. Do they have employability skills? Well, yes, but they're not contextualised. They're not relevant to that particular student. And how does that set them up for a career program when they've already paid good money for placement, a professional year program, and job readiness to the level that the provider has given them? So we take a more holistic approach, a more long-term approach to helping people to find their careers. And for that, we've got a much better, more customised program. Literally what we do is we look at the way that the student has progressed so far, the specific direction that they want to head down with their career, and we then start to engage with exactly what it is that they want to do in 5 years from now, for example. In that sense, we then start to approach specific host organisations that line up with the background of the student and their career goals, and specifically what type of organisation that they want to work with. So, for example, someone shows an interest in a particular part of IT, such as network engineering, or perhaps database management, or perhaps business intelligence, or even cybersecurity. We specifically then target those types of host organisations that offer roles in that area. We then connect them with the relevant ANSCO code that relates to that, which effectively is an amalgam of the different job descriptions in that particular market. And then we match that process up so that potentially they're working on exactly the same sorts of projects, getting the same relevant skills that they would have and need for a real career path for themselves, not a generic one where they're doing generic type of IT activities and developing up career skills that are really not going to be specifically relevant or contextualized to what they're looking at. Similarly, with what Anjali outlined, there's that networking capability. Now, as part of their ACS membership, they are required to attend networking events and build their personal networking. But what better way to do that than to actually be involved in organisations on the inside where they can have those informal conversations in the tea room or with work colleagues, that they can then start to build those relationship bonds, understand how their particular sector of the industry works, and then properly enculturalise themselves into that particular work environment. I think that's actually a much better way of operating a professional year program. So from that, if we then start to look at the costings, fees and charges related to that, you'll notice that that Danford College has repositioned itself along these particular lines that I've just talked about. So that then means that that we're going to be focused on a more customised program, and it's not going to compete on price deliberately for that reason, as a lot of the baseline competitors, we'll call them, that are in the market at the moment. So this repositioning strategy is something that we're committed to, something that we're building on, and it's essentially going to reposition the Danford College brand in the marketplace. So that then in effect means that you as agents are going to have to elaborate on that with your client base along the lines of what Anjali and I have pretty much just spoken about. Okay, so who am I handing on to? Who's next?
Well, I'll take care of here, if it's okay. So if you go back one slide, Romilda, yeah, fantastic. So to make a very, very short and sweet and quick summary of all this conversation right now, PY program is a new product of Danford College. To summarize it, there are basic eligibility criteria. Of course, the enrollment forms to be completed by us, and yeah, but the main requirements as per Australian Computer Society and Department of Immigration in Australia, who actually approved the program for 11 providers to basically deliver it in Australia-wide. So we are one of them. As a result, it's very basic. We are looking for those people who study in Australia, as you can see, as Anjali explained, with 2 years of tertiary education. Yeah, it should be a specific course. Yeah, once we go further and start communicating together, we provide you further information on that. Many of you, I can see the names already, are providing this program, which is good. And so you are familiar with that. Another one is the 485 visa. Yeah, that should be valid at least for 365 days from the day that the program starts. The third main requirements of the eligible students for that program is must actually do an interview with us to be able to see actually the person's able to talk and further on, and some English test, as you can see the criteria is up there. So I just hand it to Anjali. Anjali, if there is something else you're going to add on, then we just pass it on to Mark to answer the questions regarding fees and charges and any further that the agents might have questions.
I think I've covered whatever I had to, Dr. Edward. Thank you, Mark. And all of us actually here, Dr. Edward and myself, we've all got experience in the PY industry. We've been part of it for quite some time. So agents can bombard us with their questions and we'll do our best to answer them.
Excellent. So you go for the last slide. Yes. So if anyone has a questions, you're welcome to turn on your microphone and ask. Either of us can answer, of course, with that questions accordingly.
Thank you, Dr. Edward. We have had a question along the lines of the way that we go about customizing our career program for our individual interns. What we effectively do is on week 22 of their program, while they're still in their classroom mode, we get them in, we talk to them and have an interview where we review their resume, their final version of their resume. We look at which particular area they are interested in. We talk about their passion, and we conduct the interview almost as if it was like a real job interview for a position. What we then do is we gather as much information about the student at that point. We then use that information to match up with the most appropriate hosts in order to get the best match between those two and create the best outcome for the student. So thank you for that question. Okay, do we have any others?
Let me see here. No. Is anyone have any question? You can unmute yourself now and ask and take some advantage of Mark Vincent, who will answer your questions.
While they are thinking about the question, I add up a little bit more. Maybe they come up with the questions. So as Mark has clearly stated, there are benefits for the students. Those benefits are alongside with their employability. So this program, people are not on international student visa. They are either on a bridging visa leading to 485 visa, or they're already on 485 visa with some validity term. Yeah. So as a result, this one of them, so employability, as Mark clearly stated. And the second things and benefits is basically those are students who successfully complete the program, they can upload the certificates, and immigration department may, that will offer them the 5 additional points toward the skill migration in Australia. So the 5 points and employability is good for students. Now, the main question is, as agents, so what is the benefits for me? There is a very good commission structure on this program that is running for a few years right now. And there are not many providers. It's not like a vocational education. There are 2,000 colleges and everyone sell that. There are only a specific top colleges got this privilege to offer this professional year program in ICT through Australian Computer Society, ACS. So we are one of them. So the commission structure is pretty good. And Mark, Vincent, of course, after this is just an information session, you will send more communication, send an email. Those who are already agreed with us on an employment, on a MOU and a contract with us, of course, it's going to be easier for us. And if you are new, however, by any chance to the PYP and never delivered it before, here we are. We have enough information to keep sending you and inform you and train you in order to be able to talk to the students accordingly. Anjali?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're all here to participate and guide and support. So I generally do the pre-enrollment interview with the students. I look through all your documents that you send us in terms of application form and doc details. I'm sure we've got all your, since you've registered with us, we'll possibly send you an email immediately after this with what is required for our admission process. So.
Yeah, we don't have any more questions. So I would like to thank you everyone for joining us for today, our Zoom meeting and information session about PY. If any of you guys have any questions, you can also email us to py@danford.edu.au, and we are going to do this information session every month. So feel more than welcome to join us, and we'll send the link every month as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.